Okay, so today's listening session is Sergei Zagny's Piano Sonata from 1990, and I'm probably gonna have to listen to it later because it's about an hour long. Um, but I wanted to just go over some of the performance notes ahead of time. If you were, if you watched the previous episode, we looked at his three pieces for piano, and there's a lot of the same symbols and signs here, except I don't think there's not so much variability of performance in this sonata. It's more just like, um, yeah, you're just reading musical symbols that are a bit idiosyncratic to Zagny's work. So this, we'll start here, okay? So whenever he's working with numbers in this piece, a slash will mean or, the normal way you would linguistically use a slash, two or three. Um, If you have a line underneath a number, it means no less than the number. So two or more. And then most probably, but other values are possible. So this is what the bracket means, bracketed number. And then you can have a dash indicate, or it's probably an M dash indicating a range that you can perform in. So that's variable. Comma means it's only used in the context of repeats within repeats. So it's like the number of times you'll repeat something when you get back to it, you know. Um, I guess there's indefinitely many. This is new. There's the approximation sign. So about the same, not equal, most probably not equal. Um, so you can see there's these two. We're using the underscore thing, so it's like they have to be played once or twice, um, and they are not to be the same, right? So you can play either the first one once and then repeat this one twice, or you can play this one twice and this one once. That's effectively what's being said there. Um, the any dotted symbol, this is sort of something he was doing in his previous score, was like any dotted symbol just means that it's optional, right? So you can have dotted repeats or optional repeats. Yeah, the fermatas he uses in this one. So he really likes his fermatas because they're basically ways of adding indeterminacy to um, the note duration and also a way of encoding note durations as numbers. So this one is a little bit different than the other one. He has a different symbol for the short fermata, but this is the same symbol for the long fermata. And then uh, to multiply it, right? So say he wants a fermata that extends the note duration by exactly three times, turns a quarter note effectively into a dotted half. Then you use the three. That can be any number. Um, the X instead of the dot in the fermata means that it's going to be multiplied by an integer, but that integer is variable. And if he lists a bunch of numbers underneath, right, so you can see you have these notes repeated with fermatas. Then the durations underneath the fermatas are sort of indicating the rhythms or the durations they would be, right? So it would be half note, half note, half note, quarter, quarter, half note, quarter, half note, quarter, quarter, quarter. And I guess you would just perform, I think this might indicate as well the number of times you're repeating it just by virtue of having to read each line out. That's kind of interesting notation because it's basically telling you that you can continue repeating it, but you have to make durations longer and in a certain order, and the pattern repeats every 2 lines. So it's kind of weird. The dot, like preceding value, is to be repeated. This notation kind of reminds me of um, event scheduling in C sound. You can kind of repeat, like the way that variables are organized in a C sound score is it's like um, usually one of them is time and one of them is assigned to a different instrument, but basically it's like rows of columns and you can just sort of like keep something the same from one row to the next by just keeping a dot in that column. So it's kind of like similar. Um, yeah, there's like some notations here for tremolos that are unique. Mostly it's like an alternative to writing feather beams, which I think this is a little bit more elegant than feather beams. This is a symbol that we saw before in the last piece. The open brackets mean it's possible to omit anything within them. He does the same exit and return stuff. Um, Basically, this is just sort of like a send and a receive in Max Patch or any other um, like object-oriented programming language, you know? It's just like a little bit more elegant than telling someone exactly where they can move around in the score. It's a little bit more elegant than a patch cable, basically. So it's actually about as complicated as the last one. Um, there's even some stuff I'm missing here. I like that he has the value relation stuff separate from everything else because I think that's really important to understand. First of all, is that these symbols can be used in context with any other symbol, really. Um, it can be used with fermatas, which involve numbers. It can also be used with repetitions, which involve numbers, right? So anything that involves numbers, you can have slashes and underscores and overscores and em dashes and commas and equal signs. Um, so, like, if you look at the very beginning of the piece, you have the first measure can be played 7, 9, or 11 times. 7 or 9 or 11. This is not like it's like an exclusive or with 3 options. And it's in brackets, so you could actually just not repeat it, is what I'm understanding, right? Yeah, like you could repeat it other numbers of times if you wish, kind of thing. But this is most likely. It's going to be 7, 9, or 11. And then you can see the tempo marking has the approximate symbol. So quarter approximately equals 120. I think the big thing that we didn't see in the previous piece was like this stuff, where he's literally just replacing note durations with numbers. And I think it's one of the more unique things that happens in this score. Totally changes the way that the performer thinks about rhythm and duration. Like it completely changes the relationship. Like they just have to start counting basically. Um, Instead of having any sort of like this is the realization. Instead of having any sort of graphic representation of time, it becomes a series of numbers. Recording is in the video description. Okay, so this was a real experience. I went into this pretty tired, and somehow it woke me up. Um, yeah, it's a really incredible piece. It's quite long, but also you could play it much shorter. This performer, Daniel Pilchin, took almost every movement, and it's like broken up into these sections. I don't know if you'd call them movements, but there's 25 of them. Um, I think the form that, like, I was trying to keep track of the form as I went through it. There's about like six ideas, six main ideas to the piece, and then there's like a this running thing is sort of like a seventh idea that's almost like a little like cadenza moment. And I mean, I'll just rattle off what I heard. So um, this main idea obviously is idea A, and then you get idea B is this thing. Then you have C, or sorry, you have A again. C is the F major chord idea, and the piece ends in F, with oddly enough. But then he skips this movement, which is another B section, and then just goes to the following C section. Then this is the D idea, as these four chords that shift in duration. So that's D, then back to C. Yeah. And then we go back to D again, a bit more complicated. Then we have an optional, actually, yeah, this D is optional, but he still takes it. This C section is also optional and it has an alternate path. And yeah, both of them you could just exit out completely and return here. Then we have an optional, I should write this down. So this one's optional, this one's optional, and then we have another C section where it's back down to the one voice, right? This one's optional. This B section that we go back to is optional. And then we get back to a solid A section. There's no exiting out of this one. Um, this rising thing, which will fall later with like the very slow chords, I think I'm going to call that E. So then we get E and then F as this two chord sequence. It just goes E, F over and over again. Um, E, F, E. This version of F is optional. I call it F prime. And then, so you can exit out of that one. And then E, F. This one's also optional. Then E again. I guess you can return at the end. Oh, wait. Okay, you can return at the end of this E. So you can actually skip both of them. Like kind of like that. Then we get the F major chord idea again. So that's C. There's lots of exits and returns. That's sort of a feature of the C section, is that you could shorten it like in by incredible amounts or play the whole thing, which is very long. This player takes it pretty long most of the time, but I think at this point in the performance, we're really far into it, so he doesn't actually take it very long. He just does like a couple measures in each octave. And then we get our return of the A section. This is a really big moment. And then it gets even bigger when we get to the cadenza. And this, it doesn't look like it on the page. And weirdly, the performer does it at forte instead of piano. But this thing is actually the B section. It's the same chords. They're just arranged in a different way. And you're playing them differently, like you're approaching the repetitions differently, but it's the same thing. So that's B triple prime, and then we end with A quadruple prime, which is just an F major chord, but it's the A kind of idea. So I guess if you abridged all of this and did made the shortest version possible, okay, yeah, so it's actually 17 movements instead of 25. So yeah, you actually do cut a lot off if you take all of those big exits. Actually, I should talk about these things. because I don't think I entirely understand how this notation works. This is the D sections, and that's the first time we see it, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so looking at the D sections, so we have a bunch of boxes here. The solid ones are repeats you have to take, and then the dotted ones are repeats you may take. So a maximum, and also there's exits here, right? And I think the V2 in brackets means like on the second repetition, maybe, or at most twice. So the shortest you could do it is you just repeat this box once, right? So that's 6 lines, and then you exit to this return, right? Then the longest would be at following the bracketed suggestions, right? You repeat this thing 3 times, the first 3 lines, then you repeat the next 3 lines 2 times, then you play the next 3 lines, then you repeat the next 3 lines 2 times, play these three, repeat the next three 2 times, repeat all of this. I would say once, but technically you could repeat it any number of times you want. And then you play these 9 lines, maybe repeat that, and that as many times as you want, I guess, and then maybe repeat all of this, and then play the last line, and then you could exit. So, I mean, this could be an hour of music probably if you wanted. Uh, Obviously, the performer doesn't do it that way. This one, same thing, right? We have 3 layers of repeat boxes. It's a little bit more complicated in this one, but it's the same idea, right? It's boxes of 5 rows this time with one intervening row, and then you have a massive box over here which can be repeated. The chords at the end you have to just read as is. But there's this interesting idea he introduces where you're increasing the note durations with the fermatas, and also you're doing a retardando. So you're slowing down the speed of the beat and adding beats at the same time. And then when F comes back here, this is F double prime. Here's the more complicated application of that, um, like adding durations. You add durations to the 2 middle chords, and then you add durations to the 2 outer chords. So it's like a different fluctuation kind of. Um, this idea was cool too, where the first time you play through it, you just play it as is, then you repeat each box twice on the next repeat of the whole thing, and then you repeat each of them 3 times. I believe this performer repeated the whole section. You have to do it at least 3 times, but he repeated the whole page 4 times. So on the fourth time, he was playing each of these 4 times, and then one in between. And that was very audible, and it's like a probably the most obvious process to hear in the whole thing. I feel like I just climbed a mountain. Like this would be really crazy to see live. Although maybe you could do a version that's, I don't know, 10 minutes long or something, like just get rid of all the, like make the shortest version possible. I don't know. This person did it in 50 minutes. There's one other big performance online and it's 40 minutes long. So I think if you took a real literal like Cajun approach to this, you could just spend days playing it. Um, you could make a player piano roll that plays it for like 80 hours or something. Um, I think that would be kind of a uh, funny way to produce it. So, yeah, that's the Sonata. Definitely out of all the piano pieces I've heard of Zagny, this is like the one. This is his big one. Um, And I hope this video inspired you to listen to it, maybe play some of it. Um, it's quite old now. It's like over 30 years old, so I think it's time more attention was brought to it, and it's as sort of like a representation of what this composer is all about. Um, and certainly it's getting a bit of a following online. Like this has like 22,000 views. So lots of people are discovering it. I think it's very accessible. Um, and there's like some comments here. There's some discussion about it. Um, so hopefully I helped contribute to that, made this a little bit more digestible. And I'm gonna look at another Zagny piece tomorrow. I believe it's his studies for piano. I can't remember how many there are, but they're much simpler than this. So yeah, that'll be that.